Welcome to the last explainer from Court Helicopter on the question of rent and landlords, tenants and landlords, where we are dealing with now. The landlord has decided to levy or to recover by selling your property. You have heard of auctioneers. The landlord sends you an auctioneer. What is the law that deals with auctioneers? You know, some auctioneers are very barbaric. The first thing is that an auctioneer must be licensed. He must have a license issued for him to practice as an auctioneer. For the auctioneer to levy distress, we have what we call the Distress for Rent Act, Chapter 293, which provides for the procedures to be followed. The first procedure is that if you default to pay rent, the landlord or the landlady has the lawful authority to levy rent. Number one, the levying of distressing for rent must be done between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. only on 5 days, not on Sunday. The law provides in section 3, no Sunday. So if you see an auctioneer coming to you on a Sunday or that type chase. Number two, the landlord has power to recover rent if you have defaulted on rent, and he will distress that as provided for within the law. If arrears accrue from a lease, if arrears accrue from a rent, remember, we have done an episode that tells you deposit will not be used for rent. You will be auctioned even when there is a deposit that the landlord is able. Then the question is, what are the things the law allow the landlord to auction, and what is it that the landlord cannot auction? Section 16, the following things cannot be levied for rent distress. What are they? 1. A. The following goods and chattels shall be exempt from distress for rent. 1. The property of the government. If you are a landlord and you have given government as a tenant and they fail to pay, my friend, you can never levy rent. You can never possess the properties of government. The law stops. So that is why most people avoid to give their premises to government, because they cannot levy rent arrears. 2. Goods and chattels in the possession of the law. If the law has ordered, for example, those properties to be preserved, you cannot go ahead and levy rent if there's a court order stopping anybody from selling. 3rd, things delivered to a person exercising a public trade to be carried, wrought, worked up, or managed in the way of his trade. You take a car to the garage. That car does not belong to the owner of the garage. So if he has not paid rent, your car cannot be taken to be sold as rent default. If your clothes, you took them to be sold. That's why, for example, in supermarkets, the owner of the supermarket is not the act of the building and is not the owner of those things. those bottles of Coca-Cola there belong to Coca-Cola. They bring and take back. So you cannot go to say you are grabbing these properties. If you find somebody has brought his computer in Dunstan Omari's law firm and you have an issue with him, you cannot take anything that has been presented for repairs. 4, things in actual use of occupation of the person distrained upon at the time of the distress. Things in actual use of occupation. What does this mean? You cannot take a sufuria. You cannot take cooking utensils. You cannot take things that that person is using. You can only take furniture. You can take other things, but you cannot take personal items for rent distress. 5, you cannot also distress for rent things of perishable nature. You can't go picking tomatoes, bread. Ati mtu hajalipa rent, you carry bread, you carry tomatoes, you carry onions, you carry meat. Somebody has bought nyama kilo moja ya watoto. You are not allowed to carry perishables. 2, of such as cannot be restored again in the same state and condition that they were before being taken. 5, you cannot take animals of such areas. For example, you cannot repossess animals for domestic use. You can't repossess a dog, you can't repossess a cat, you can't repossess a chicken. Those things cannot be auctioned. G, the wearing apparel and beddings of a person whose goods and chattels are being distrayed upon and the tools and implements of his trade to the total value of 100 shillings. You can't take the clothes of an advocate. This robe, you can't. You cannot take the camera if you are, because that is a trade for a journalist. You cannot take a pen if it is a teacher you want to auction. A pen is used to mark exams. So you cannot take what they use. 2, you are not allowed to carry beddings. You can carry the bed, but you cannot take the mattress, you cannot take the blankets, you cannot take the bed sheets, because the person must come and sleep. You can take the bed, but you cannot take the blanket today, you know. Then you can also, all the things that you take, you must remain at least property to that person of not less than 100,000 shillings. H, things exempted from distress under the Energy Act. Energy Act provides for what cannot be exempted. I, any meter, for example, together with any fittings thereto, supplied and let on hire by a corporation. For example, the electricity meters, the switches here, you cannot levy stress. You can't take them for rent. The electricity meter, the water meter, normally they don't belong to the person who has taken the house. They belong to Kenya Power, they belong to Nairobi Water Services. And number 2, a subordinate court or complaint that goods or chattels exempt under this section from distress. If there is a dispute about of this, you can go to the High Court and the Magistrates Court or the Rent Tribunal Court to deal with these matters. So, what is the remedy for wrongful distress? If the remedy, your auctions, where do you go? To the Rent Tribunal. 2, if you are dissatisfied with the Rent Tribunal, you move on to do that. So then the next is to the High Court. The last part, what is the procedure providing for living distress. One, the auctioneer must get instructions from the landlord. The auctioneer will come to the premise and proclaim. He'll come in, tell you, I'm an auctioneer, I've walked in, allow me to take note of what you have in the house. He'll take an inventory, he'll give you one copy, a proclamation notice, and you'll sign, he'll go with it. If you disappear with those properties, you'll have committed a crime. So, he leaves you one notice. You are given 14 days for the properties to be sold. If you write to the auctioneer within 7 days, you can ask for more time. That's 15 more days to pay back. What you pay will be not only what you owe the landlord, you must pay the auctioneer's fees. If he transports your goods from your house to a warehouse, you will pay transportation costs. If he takes your properties to a warehouse, you will have to pay the warehouse charges. So, Wakili Omari and Dunstan and company advocate Dunstan, Omari and associates tell you, pay your rent. Pay your rent. If you are unable to pay rent, the auctioneers will levy distress. Because the lease is very, very clear. Under this act, the Distress for Rent Act, which is here, the landlord has power to take over and recover his money. Suppose they sell and they don't recover the total rent, they have the power to follow you as a civil suit. You have a rent arrears of 2 million shillings. They take the property, they sell and recover 200,000 shillings. They will go to the civil division to recover the balance of 1.8 million. So we advise you that stay in a house where you are able to pay rent, grow gradually to bigger houses as your income improves. Keep watching because we value your views. Sometimes the auctioneer will come because of rent arrears accruing to around 20,000 or 30,000. They carry everything from the house. Your goods are worth 500,000. Your goods are worth 1 million shillings. They come and carry everything plus the car. Under Section 4, subsection 3, you have a right to demand for a value, assessment of the value of what has been taken. So the law says, and it says, before the expiration of 7 days, the tenant can do in writing that the value of the goods be valued and be ascertained. So then they can sell and take their 20,000. Remember, the landlords and the auctioneers have repossessed people's cars, have repossessed people's pricely goods. They go and organize with their friends. They buy all your household goods at 20,000. Yet, your goods are worthy 1 million shillings. So, don't lose your property, because now we have told you that you can value your properties so that you know exactly how much your property is worth. When we shall be dealing with commercial transactions, we'll be talking about also mortgages. You take a mortgage, you have repaid, and the bank is remaining only 2 million. They repossess the house. They sell that house for 2 million. Yet the house is worth 200 million that time. We shall be dealing with that question. So now you know that issue. Another issue that happens is that sometimes auctioneers, when somebody knows he has arrears, They normally take the fridge and sell that fridge to Vivian. Vivian is not aware that that fridge she has bought, somebody is hiding the fridge because she has, the landlord knows they will come and pick the fridge. Then the land auctioneer come, they follow the fridge to Vivian, an independent person. She has bought, she has paid, she has a receipt, then they repossess that fridge. That the law does not allow the auctioneer to repossess a property that has already been bought by somebody called a Bonafide purchaser for value. Vivian is a Bonafide purchaser for value. She did not know this fridge was being hidden away. So some of the vehicles sometimes you buy, somebody took a loan from the bank, he is running away, he sells that vehicle. If the transfer has been done, that vehicle, the bank will lose. So the auctioneer can only repossess what is owned by the person who owes the landlord rent default. Next weekend, due to public demand, we'll be dealing with issues of employment, sackings, reinstatements, transfers, constructive sacking, notices, leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, salary increments, all those issues we shall be dealing with them next week. Thank you very much and have a peaceful weekend.